Good morning everybody, it's Becca at So Darn Twisted. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be making another simple journal. Something that's very easy to put together. Once you've done it once, you'll find it's very quick to do. Obviously it always takes a little longer to show what I'm doing because I'm explaining it as I go, but when you're making one, this will take you a matter of minutes, you know, once you've done it and followed along that first time. So it's very simple to make. And the pages and the cover artwork and everything are from this wildflower kit from Clemons Crafts, which will be linked in the description. Obviously I've somehow managed to completely ruin that, I don't know how. But there are lots and lots of pages in this kit, and I have actually I've already cut into some of them to make the journal, obviously. So there are some bits, but I haven't printed the entire thing because there is an awful lot of it and I wasn't going to need all of it for this particular project, but I will be making another project with it as well, which will utilize some more of the pieces. But it's absolutely beautiful. There's lots and lots of fussy cuts. There's pages and pages of them, so you know you won't go short. And there's these pieces here that are sort of pages themselves, or in this case I used one on the cover, but you can cut those out and stick them onto a page and have it, you know, just as the centerpiece of your page. I've printed off the backgrounds. These ones are the single-sided ones. I did print out the backgrounds, a lot of them as double-sided as well. But yeah, there's lots and lots of backgrounds, there's lots and lots of fussy cuts, you know, and those really nice panels as well. So as I say, this is just a part of the kit. But again, that's Clemons Crafts. Check the description. She very kindly gifted me the pack because I wanted to make something nice, and so here we are. So yeah, it's a very basic journal. It's about sort of 12 pages, I think, something like that, you know, and it's just really nice and simple, and it won't take you very long to make. So let's move on to equipment and supplies. And again, I've tried to keep this one pretty basic if possible, but this is what I've printed out from Vanessa's kit. Now, I've done some of it as double-sided pages for the pages within the book, within the journal that I'm going to do. So that's I've got 6 of those, so that's 12 pages kind of, you know. Then I've printed out a couple of these that have got the nice kind of pre-made page within them, and then fussy cuts around the edges. So there's that one, and then there's that one. I haven't printed the whole kit. There is so much in this kit. There's lots. If you love fussy cutting, you'll be in your element. As we all know, I'm not really big on fussy cuts, so I didn't print out all the fussy cuts. just some that I knew I'd probably want to use at least some of. So yeah, that's a me problem. I'm just not much good with fussy cuts, usually because I'm so shaky as well all the time. So it's like they become more kind of jagged cuts than fussy cuts. Then I'm just going to use a basic corner rounder for this one. I'm not going to get into anything elaborate. And I've got some ink and an ink dauber, paper trimmer, or obviously just, you know, ruler, pencil, pair of scissors, whichever you have is fine. You're going to want tapestry needle, large eye needle, and a contrasting colour of thread, or sort of complementary colour of thread I should say. So, you know, kind of like maybe a nice pale green to pick out the greenery in it, you know, or a really subtle pink, you know, maybe a sort of peach kind of colour. Yeah, I think that might work nicely. Yeah, so something like that basically, just to, oh excuse me, just to have something that fits nicely. So you're going to want those. Obviously you're going to want some glue, some scissors for said fussy cuts, and then I've just got some, I wanted to keep the lace and the embellishments kind of simple, so I've just got some sort of basic you know, lace, nothing too big and fluffy, you know, so to try and keep it looking classic and simple. And I found one of these that I'd made the other day from my fabric embossing, that's got roses on it, and I thought that's kind of nice. I could use that on the cover. And I've got some little sort of gemstones and things like that. I've got my bone folder, so we'll get all of this out of the way and just pull in what we're going to need to get going. Right, so what you need to do to start with the cover is you need to cut out one of your pages, get rid of your white excess, and then measure it. Then once you've got your measurement, you need to add 1 centimetre to each aspect, and then cut your piece of card, which I'm afraid I forgot to hit record on my camera, so it missed that. But as you can see, it just leaves a small lip around that. And then I have a piece of paper, which is just a plain sheet from the kit. So that will now fit like this. So if ever you're making a cover, it's always a good idea to look at the size of your pages to know that you're getting the right size cover. And occasionally you will still need to trim down the short edges a little bit, because once the pages are folded in, they grow, which I'll show you just in case this is your first time doing that kind of thing. So when it comes to the pages, I'll show you what I mean. So let's just move that out the way for a minute. Now you can use Mod Podge, you can use double-sided sticky tape, you can use glue stick, you can use whatever works for you to get your cover on. We're just going to position it in the middle here, and that will be that. Now I'm going to be really brave and I am going to use my glue stick. So what I'm going to do, I should have got my cutting mat for this part, but it's okay, it wipes off my desk anyway. So I'm going to make sure that I'm getting the edges of the card. You know, if you do it on the paper, sometimes you realise that you've missed the edges, and the edges are really important. So I'm going to make sure I've got all of those, and then I'm just going to give this a good go over. You want to make sure it's thoroughly covered with whatever medium you choose to glue it with. I usually use double-sided tape if I'm using like proper hardcover and fabric and that kind of stuff, but you know, you can manage perfectly well with a glue stick if it's just card and paper that you're using. So let's get that right. So then we're going to take our card, we're going to pop it down all nicely there, and then if you turn it over, if you have a graying tool or a scraper tool, and just give it a really good go, like flatten down the blade of your scraper, obviously, so you're not scratching anything, you're just pushing nice and flat, just giving yourself some really good adhesion, you know. And there we go, and that's fabulous. Okay, now you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut yourself a triangle off of here, making sure that you're not actually meeting the corner point. It's a mistake most people make when they very first start, and you just see people cutting triangles off and you assume that that's what they're doing. They're not. Not if you're using corner, you know, like the metal corner ones that I generally use, it's not such a big deal then, because the metallic piece will cover any gaps. But if you're just doing it with paper and card and stuff, you really do need to just be aware of that. And I've got a little bit of rogue cardboard there. Let's just get that off. Thank you very much. How dare you? You were not paying rent. Okay, and now we're going to just glue again, get that nice along those edges, get it in there. Now the scraps are trying to join the party as well. This is not a scraps project, this is not your time. Okay, so there we go, nice bit of glue on there. Then we're just going to use our thumbs, create a crease along the edge, and then we're just going to push it down like so. Okay, spin it round, same thing, thumbs to push your crease line, and then push it that way all the way along. Okay, and then just give it another little squidge down, and again. That's it. Sometimes you just have to get a slight fold just to get the thumb, to get it lined up to be able to do that with your thumbs. Okay, sometimes you need to just put a little bit on those corners, depending on how deep the side flap is. Sometimes you need to just put a little bit of extra glue there. But again, we're just pushing upwards. That just makes sure that it keeps your paper nice and tight to your edges. Okay, so now we have that in place. That's fabulous. So now what I would do is I would clip out the corners of this. I'm going to just fold it in half first. I'm just going to make sure I follow the line from the page. Sometimes your printer will do it and it's not actually quite central. Sorry, not the printer, the templates, you know, that you get like paper templates, and that sometimes the crease line isn't actually in the center of the page. That's what I was trying to say. I just wasn't saying it very well, was I? So I'm clipping out those corners. Fabulous. I'm just gonna grab my ink pad here, and I'm just going to give that just a little bit, especially if like me, I've left just a tiny sliver of white behind. You know, that happens sometimes. You think that you've got it, but it's just not quite. Oh, that one didn't clip out. I think I said in a previous video, but that I think that corner punch has had its final days. I think I've worked it too hard in like the 8-9 months that I've had it for since I started this. This is one of the first things I bought, was a corner rounding punch, because I'd seen it all over TikTok, people rounding off their corners. I need this, whatever it is, I need it. So yeah, I think it's about time I replaced it, or at least that's what it's heavily hinting at. Even paper, it's too much, I can't cope. Right, so now we've got that in place. Now I would do this with all of the pages personally as well, but obviously, you know, A, I wouldn't bother doing that on the video, and B, you don't have to, it's not necessary. Okay, so we're going to fold that up, and then we're just going to have a look at positioning, because we want it to be positioned nicely, don't we? You know, you can slap it on if you like. Yeah, I won't judge you. Well, maybe I will a little bit, but I won't tell you that I'm judging you. Now, good little tip is actually these ones would be better for this because they're not as bulky. These are just hair clips that you can get from any kind of discount shop, you know. Over here, things like Poundland, B&M, you know, that kind of stuff. But I imagine at places like Dollar Tree and that in the States, you'll get these as well. So I'm just gonna, it just helps to hold that position for you while you just get it glued down, which is better than you gluing it and then you're trying to position it and then it sticks in the wrong place to the glue, you know, which actually happened to me only last night doing something, you know. So, but I was really tired and medicated, so I'm blaming that. And it was fabric, you know, so it was a bit tricksy. You don't need those now. I don't know why I'm sliding that over, because now that side's down, it's already going to hold it in place for this side. So we're just going to repeat that process. Now, I do this slightly differently the next bit to how a lot of people will do it, because immediately they'll fold this in half and do what they're going to do. I wait for my glue to dry because it helps stop puckering and the like. So once I've done that part, I'm going to just set that aside for a minute, and instead I'm going to start trimming out my pages to go into the journal. and that's when I'll be then obviously like clipping out the corners, inking the edges, you know, all that kind of stuff will be while that ink's drying. It doesn't take that long to dry, but you know, I like to make sure it's well and truly there, and I like to put it under something heavy as well quite often, because it will help it flatten out. If you have nothing heavy, you can just cheat and stick it under your board there, and that will help. I do that all the time. I'm terrible. I'm absolutely terrible. And a good trick, good tip, sorry, is now get your papers the right way up, so that if, like me, you get carried away then and just start folding once you've trimmed them, you know, you can end up with things the wrong way up, because you fold them, then you're sticking them in the journal, and the next thing you know, you go, oh damn, I've done it. I know other people have done it, and you can usually find some ways to hide it, but you know, you're better off just trying to make sure in the first place. Why am I not lining that up? What is wrong with me today? Don't answer that question, please. If you're watching, do not answer that question, because you could be here all day. Okay, and just to avoid the white edges, I'm just going to go slightly inside the pattern, the colour, and we're just going to nick those off. So yeah, nice and easy so far. Hopefully you guys are all going, well, that was simple. As you know, I do like to keep things relatively simple. So we're now going to just pop that up there, and there we go. So now we've got our nice pages. So yeah, at this point, if you are going to, let me put that back under the heavy thing, if you are going to be inking your edges and clip out your corners, let's do that now. Okay, so all the corners are clipped, and all I did was ink around the very edges. I haven't really inked onto the pages at all. So what you're going to do is grab your bone folder, and we're just going to start folding these in half, ready to combine and sew in. So we're just going to give them all a nice crisp edge. I mean, this is really, making the journal this way is kind of only a step up. Oops, excuse me. Only a step up really from the really basic one that I showed how to make the other day in the tutorial. It just has you know, a bit more polish on it really than that one did, and obviously that one didn't involve any kind of, you know, particular theme or design or anything like that, but the method is very similar. But obviously we're lining the cover this time rather than just using existing patterned card. But if you can make that one, you can make this one. I promise, it's so easy. Once you've done it a couple of times, you'll wonder why you were ever even remotely worried about trying it. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, you'll be binding in like 5 or 6 signature journals, making your own covers from, you know, hardboard and stuff like that. Like I do now. There was a time I would have panicked at the very thought of that. So what we're going to do is we're now going to put our pages inside each other, which is why I was saying about making sure they are the right way up, because you think that you're going to check it as you do this, but trust me, there are far too many accidents for that to be true. Okay, so we're going to do that. Now, the bit earlier on when I said when you put them together they start to bulge, I'm going to just see if I can zoom that in a little bit, or focus in a little bit. So can you see how that's come across by, you know, kind of 2.5 millimeters? So sometimes that can make it protrude out too far, depending on how like how much of a gap you have between the edge of your cover and the pages. So sometimes you will need to go and just trim those off on your paper trimmer, but not always. Right, so now we have our cover. That's all wonderful. It's all looking nice and flat now. The glue feels nice and dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my scoring board. I'm just going to use the one that's on my paper trimmer because it's to hand. and the other one is on a shelf somewhere. So I'm going to line up that beautiful pre-existing line. I'm going to make sure my cutting blade is well out of the way. And I'm just going to give that a really good scoring. Okay, because that will just help make sure that it follows the line I want it to follow, and it's come through on the back just enough for me to be able to go, okay, I'm just going to give that a light score along the back as well. Okay, then the easiest way I found to do this is to get your bone folder, or you know, a ruler, something like that, and just kind of push it towards where your score line is, and then you're just going to gently, you're kind of almost massaging that up. You do it too quickly and it just starts to buckle in the wrong places, you know, and the paper starts to crease oddly, and you know, all that kind of thing. Once you get to kind of 90 degrees, you can get rid of the bone folder, and you're just going to kind of do that a couple of times. Just ease it down nice and slowly. There we go. It just gives you a nicer finish. And we're going to get the bone folder, and we're just going to give that a nice press as well. And there you go. See, your paper hasn't all kind of kicked up along the inside edge here, which is what often happens, but by letting your glue dry, it stops that. You know, you're probably always going to get a couple of little glue puckers just from it drying naturally anyway. The more glue you use, the more likely you are to get some puckering. There's a tiny little bit just here, but that's not caused by this. So this is what stops it all bubbling up here. See, softly, softly. That way around better. Okay. Right, and then just check this one to make sure I'm putting it in the right way up. So we have that now, and we're going to line that up, and we're going to get some more of those clamps, and that's going to sit there. For this one I'm going to use the bigger boys. And I'm just going to, she says, just go. Okay, you can all laugh, it's fine, it's fine, I don't care. I'm a big girl, I can deal with it. And then we're just going to push that, make sure it's nicely in the crease, and we're just going to clamp that side as well. Okay, so now when I'm closing it, it's just shy of the outside edge, which is fine. Obviously if you want more of a gap, create more of a gap, but I just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to extend over the edge of my cover. Right, so the next step is going to be to sew this together. So now you're going to need your awl or pokey tool, so anything sharp that you can poke some holes in. Okay, so first of all, you can measure it by all means, you don't have to freehand it, but if you're not worried about measurements and you think you can eyeball it, then just do that. So right now it's 17.5 centimeters, so that's going to be like 8 and some. It's just about 3.5 inches, you know, sort of 8 3/4 centimeters kind of thing. That's going to be my center point. So I'm just going to pop a hole through there and just twist gently. Don't try and force it, and you'll feel when it's gone through. I'm scratching nail varnish all over the pages. Oh my god, that should have been dry like this morning. Okay, and then I'll do another one that's kind of equidistant between the center point and that point there. So that's now 9 centimeters, like 3.5 inches kind of thing. So I'm going to bring it into 4.5 centimeters, which is about 1 3/4 inches. But again, those measurements depend on whether or not you have the same measurements that I have here. If you don't, well, then you're going to be working on your measurements, which is obviously completely fine. There we go. So we're through that side as well. Nice and easy. You don't need specialist tools, you know, other than something sharp. You don't need guides, and you know, I do have things that you can, you know, sit this in and poke the holes, and but I just get a ruler, or I just eyeball it and it's fine. You know, you don't have to do all that. So my average is 3 and some, just to make really sure that I've got enough, because I've been caught short so many times where I think, oh, that'll be long enough, and then when I actually go to do it, I'm left with just not enough to tie it off at the end. So then you have to unbind the whole lot and away you go again. And every time I do this, I don't know if you guys know, if you struggle with threading needles like I do, if you take your thread, rather than trying to poke your raw edge through, if you fold it back on itself and create a little loop and hold that loop really quite sort of tightly between your fingertips and just rub it up and down your needle eye, it will go through. Pretty much first time every time. It really fails me. So I don't know if you guys knew about that. Now, your decision here is whether or not you want your bow to tie it off to be on the outside or the inside. Today I'm going to do it on the outside. Last time I did it on the inside. So we'll change it up. So we're going to pull this through, and much like the other one, you're going to want to leave a piece, like one end, sorry, tied to or clamped to your cover like that. Fabulous. That will make sure that you've got enough at the end to tie it off, and it gives you a little bit of tension for doing your stitches. So taut but not tight is the key. So you're going to pull it, and you want it to be taut. You don't want it to be baggy, but you don't want it to be so tight that it starts to rip the holes further across. That's the last thing you want. Then we're going to go back in through the middle, pull that through again, keep it taut. Then we're going to go in through your top hole like so, back in through your center hole. Because this being a card cover, I am going to do 2 runs of the stitching, so you're just repeating the exact same thing, coming out down the bottom, in through the middle, up through the top. And then what you're going to do at this point here, you're going to take your needle and you're going to hook it round the top of that stitch. So that's an anchor point. Fabulous. Then what I tend to do is I tend to make a knot by passing it round the other end and then just tie it that way. Just create a little tension knot. Make sure that my tension is nice from the actual stitch as well, and then just pull. Okay, and then that just makes sure that your signatures aren't going to be wobbling around because you've kept it nice and tight. There's bound to be some kind of movement. It's, you know, you're rarely ever going to get it that it doesn't move at all, you know, so bear that in mind. So then I'm just going to do a bow. If you do like Coptic binding and stuff, it won't move, you know, but for stuff sewn in just like this, more often than not, I find they move just slightly, but I'm not worried. Double bow that just to create a little knot, trim off your excess thread. Fantastic. And there we go, that's the cover made. Well, that's the journal made, isn't it, really? Fabulous. There you go, nice little journal for you. So now we're going to decorate the cover. And what I thought might be nice is to use one of those panels that I didn't use, you know, on the inside cover. I'm not sure that they'll actually fit, but it's a nice idea. But I think maybe we can make that work. Maybe we can make that work. Well, you guys need to obviously please bear with me here, because I am just making this part up as I go along. So you might have to deal with me questioning and second guessing myself. Just like, is that going to be the best way? Is that going to work though, Becca? You know, I do that whether I'm filming or not. I sit and I question myself all the time. So it's just a thing. I'm not crazy, honest. Okay, oh no, I can get that to fit. I can indeed get that to fit. Okay, so what I think I'd probably do here then is I would use some lace to kind of bridge that gap slightly. I'd probably put some lace across the top and the bottom there. I think that would look really, really nice as well, because I was unsure as to whether or not I was going to maybe use some of these, but I could still use those on top of the lace. It wouldn't matter. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do there. So I'm just going to measure out the width of my lace there. So we're just going to have 2 of those, and obviously we can do a tidy trim at the end. We just want to make sure there's enough to go across. So let's nip that down. Now you can obviously, again, I wouldn't bother clipping the corners because they're going to be underneath the lace, but if the lace you're using means that they're quite visible, then you may want to round off the corners. That's up to you, but I would give it just a little bit of ink. So let's get that glued down. I'm going to use my my repositionable if necessary glue here, because we all know what it's like. You think you've got it on, you know, really nice and central, and then you realise it's slightly wonky, or on the wonkers I like to call it. And then you have to go back and correct it. Try to peel it off without ripping anything, or you have to go, oh, I'm just going to have to leave it like that and just try and work around it, try and hide it. No, use some repositionable glue. Okay, so as long as I'm roughly in the right space, top and bottom, it's really just a matter of making sure that the sides are nice and even and that I don't get excess glue on that. Okay, yeah, that's looking good. That's looking good. There we go, little squeeze. Yeah, fabulous. And again, I'm just going to use my vinyl scraper for when I'm doing like heat transfer vinyls and permanent vinyls and the like. And I just like to, yeah, use that. Clean off any excess bits that have just decided to stick there. Doesn't matter up here because the glue's going to be there. So we're just going to throw down. Now at this point you want enough but not loads. You don't want loads, you don't want it all seeping everywhere. It's only got to hold your lace. Doesn't have to work miracles. Alright, so we're just going to pop that down. Line that up nicely with the top edge. Again, it's good to use that glue that gives you a little bit of ability to just drag things around slightly before it's completely dried. So there we go, lovely. And we're going to do the same on the bottom. So again, don't drown it, just give it enough to stick. There we go. Make sure your lace is the right way around, Becca. Right. There, fabulous. Doesn't really need much repositioning, that one. Okay, that's looking kind of nice. We'll trim the excess bits off once the glue's fully dry, because sometimes the scissors can drag it and you don't want that. But now I really do think I still want to put these in the corners, because I don't know why, I just think it just really gives it something nice, you know. So again, we're going to glue these. Sometimes I find that they're bent up a little bit at the sides, like the 2 wings are sort of bent up a little bit and they don't stick as well, so I tend to just give them a little bend back down just to help them stick. And I still will be using this glue. I adore this glue. It's not great for everything, but then no glue is, and that's why there's so many different types of glue. Different things work better with different glues. So I'm just gonna kind of pop that down just shy of the edges, kind of thing. There we go, lovely. So yeah, basically just rinse and repeat for this, if you're using these. If you're not, well, I'm gonna jump ahead anyway, so I'll meet you there. Alright, so there we go, that is all nicely glued on now, so I'm just gonna nick off the raw edges. Oh, I don't know why I turned that back that way, I need it that way. It's the best way to see where your edges are, is from behind. There we go, so I'm just gonna make sure that's all nice and tidy. There we go. So that's the cover. And then I thought, well, I might use that embossed rose fabric that I made. So I thought I'm going to chuck that on the cover, because it'll just make a nice little addition. I think. A nice little kind of focal point, you know, just the right way around though. Maybe if I just kind of pop it there so you can still sort of see the flowers, but it's but it can still create its own little focal point. And whilst rummaging earlier on, I found that little piece that I think I'll put in the middle. I was rummaging through my box of things left over from all the rose garden stuff that I've done, and this was in there, and I thought that's perfect. Oh my life, I don't know where it came from, but it was perfect. It's probably from one of the lovely printables or something that I've had over the timeless. Ha, what I did there. Okay, that glue all off. Yes, that glue's all off. So okay, let's have a little focused look. So there we go, that's that, and your inside, etc. So that's that. So now let's have a little look and do the things that Vanessa's making me do here. Ah, fussy cuts. It's fine, it's fine. So what I'm going to do to start with is I'm actually just going to kind of just cut roughly, because it makes it easier to fussy cut if you haven't got a whole great big sheet to be trying to finagle with. Sorry, I've got glue all over my fingertip. There we go, and it's really bugging me. Okay, so I'm just gonna try not to be too shaky and make it look a hot mess, because this is a lovely kit and I don't want to ruin it. Okay, there we go. Okay, I didn't hate that too much, Vanessa. You're in luck. Right, so I'm going to have that one, and I particularly liked this one. I think I'm drawn to the ones that just have like the least amount of detail that you have to cut around. I just go, no, that's it, unless it's just got clean lines that I can follow and stuff, and clean shapes. I don't want to know. Terrible. One of my subscribers was offering to ink all my pages because I was saying how much I hate inking, and she said, well, how about like I'll do all your inking and you can do all my fussy cutting. I said, well, I hate fussy cutting too, so really I'm pretty useless. I don't like either, so I'm not really the best junk journaler, am I? You know, I don't like inking and I don't like fussy cutting. So we've got a couple. Right, I'm going to skip ahead because I'm going to just cut out a couple more from the different sheets that I have here. So we'll just skip ahead to that. Alright, so I've just picked out a few of the fussy cuts and stuff. What I will be doing is printing out another one of the blank sort of just textured pages onto some cardstock instead of just paper, and I'll be making tags and things like that with the fussy cuts. So obviously I'm not getting into that massively today because this was about making the journal kind of thing, and using the kit to make it. So the rest of it, I will be doing another tutorial to make a traveler's notebook using the kit. So kind of in the style of a traveler's notebook, I suppose. It's not actually going to be a traveler's notebook, but that will be in a day or two, I dare say. Let's have that one. Hopefully I can get that one recorded as well for you, but it's going to be really, really cute. So as soon as I saw a couple of pieces of this kit, I thought, well, obviously I need to make a little journal. You know, goes without saying. But I thought, oh, and I had this other idea, and I thought, yeah, you know what, I'm going to do that as well. So that will be happening. I just can't do it today, I don't think. Right. So we're going to kind of, well, I'm just going to pop that one down there. There we go. Yeah, that's looking kind of nice. Kind of nice, just simple, you know. I'd probably go ahead and pop a couple more of the fussy cuts on the front as well. Actually, I think they could look quite nice, you know. Not entirely sure where yet, but I will probably, yeah, I think I could put one up there. Would look quite nice, wouldn't it? So this is what happens when I'm making it on the go and I go, oh, I'm not going to, oh, but I'll just. Things just get carried away with me, don't they? But you know what? That's how the process works sometimes. It just has to happen on its own, just by itself. And, you know, you're just there to facilitate it, basically. Okay, and then I'm going to pop that one just coming out of the top of that lace and into that gap there. Oh, that looks really, really sweet there. Yeah. Right, so I'll stop waffling now. Here is, let's say, Clemons Crafts DigiKit Wildflowers DigiKit on her Etsy, which will be linked in the description. As I say, I haven't shown you even probably half of the kit at the beginning there, where I was showing you the printed out sheets, because there are literally, there's about, I think it's like 30 pages or something like that, you know. There's a lot, which is really, really good. So yeah, here is a simple little journal that you can make with the kit, or you know, with any kit you want to, obviously, but I really wanted to showcase Vanessa's kit for this one. I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I hope you found it easy to follow. I hope you picked up some tips and tricks, even if you already know how to put a basic journal together. So leave me a comment, leave me a thumbs up. You know the drill, guys. I love it when you interact with me. It keeps me relevant in people's feeds as well, and I do like to be relevant. Yeah, I'll stop being dramatic now, maybe. And I will see you in the next video, which will be the little notebook tutorial that I mentioned. Oh, and a very quick thank you to everybody who came to my live giveaway, and congratulations again to Sandra, who won the giveaway. And she chose to have her gift voucher for snag tights, which I can totally get behind that. She wanted some really cool tights, which is absolutely brilliant. So I gave her a £20 gift voucher for that, and off she went. So that's really, really wonderful. But thank you to everybody who turned out. There was a wonderful turnout, so much better than the 500 one in terms of numbers people attending. So, you know, I'm stupidly grateful to you all for taking the time out of your day to come and join me for that. And keep an eye out, because very, very soon I'm going to start doing regular lives where you can craft along with me. I will probably put it to a poll each time to see what people would like to make with me. And then I'll come up with something that we can sit and do together and have a chat while we're doing it, and it'll be lovely. So yeah, there you go. It's enough waffle. Again, I say it's enough waffle. And I will see you guys next time. Take care and happy crafting.